unbelievably professionally professional. That sounds like me. Talk to these people before I dig myself worse as I get them ready to go here.
All right, as we take the shovel out of Brysolf's hands here so he can use them to set our runners off here, we have Akerasi and Grunt, the 16 and 17 seeds. So this is going to be theoretically one of your more even matchups. So it's hard to say where it'll go. Now, there was a question in chat that, as far as an average for the tourney, I mean, if you're doing 630, yeah, that's pretty solid. I can guarantee you won't see that from me unless I use save states or cheat codes, which is not allowed. So you're definitely not seeing that from me. But yes, we have the first game of our second match here of a 6-pack tonight here for you on GG Speedruns, and we are underway as our runners are going to make their way to Arena 1.
Gruntiatus will be on the right. We have Akerasi on the left. See if they've set up. They both get their shield to open. We are underway indeed. Something to note, these races are probably going to be over 7 minutes somewhat consistently. I believe both of their PBs are in the high 6s. And we have people in chat calling, doing the Babe Ruth calling the shot here for Ferran Burgundy, saying that the sub-6 is going to happen in that race upcoming against Jacquemus Wedge later this week.
Yes, and I responded accordingly, considering that my average right now is a 908. I'd put that in the highly unlikely category, or to quote the late, great Gorilla Monsoon, calling Tapatio a fountain of misinformation.
That seems about right, but also seems about right. Gruntiatus getting an orb on the feet, followed by a Razor Shield, already in the lead out of Arena 1, and now just clobbering enemies here, fully safe from those swarmers at the moment, and just enjoying life. Meanwhile, a spreader on Akerasi's side, but not much else here, and this opening room is going to be pretty good for Gruntiatus. 125 into Eat My Shrapnel.
It's so comforting just to be able to sit there in the middle with the Razor Shield and just fire away at things.
It is a good feeling, and Akerasi looking at about a 139, 140 into Eat My Shrapnel. Not a great opening couple rooms here. Akerasi's got some work to do if he wants to win this race. Using the nuke with no orb and no weapon, that might have been the best play there. Just clean up the mess and buy yourself some time. Oh, Grunty gets clubbed, but gets an orb drop. How about that?
RNG favors the underdogs?
I think you're ruining Cards fans' saying, but hey, it works in this instance. Rockets now for Akerasi will help clean up these shrapnels at least. Then an orb. Has to be careful not to lose it there on the initial movement. Speaking of rockets and orbs, Gruntiatus is just going ham right now in total carnage. See if Akerasi can avoid getting taken out there, and does a good job, escapes that hallway of enemies with the orb intact. Things are getting tight in there, though. Blocks a shrapnel.
Wow.
I don't think that was intentional, but that works. Those shrapnel pieces can be blocked by your orb, and hey, another Razor Shield orb combo for Gruntiatus. Another great gift there. Now spreader for Akerasi with that orb. Going to just start pounding away at the enemy. This will keep them away temporarily, but that extra life, the dude is really not wanted. And Akerasi's just ignoring it and focusing on the enemies. This is a solid run here for Gruntiatus. 318. Didn't get a lot of weapons there in total carnage, other than that early rocket. But still, good job to get out with the orb intact. And speaking of jobs with the orb intact, Akerasi's doing a pretty good job holding it down here.
Yeah, Gruntiatus so far doing a lot with a little in total carnage. Now gets a little bit of a breather and is going to be leaving the bonus room just as Akerasi enters.
It's about a 21-second lead here. Gruntiatus into tank trouble. Gets a foot. Not a great first drop. Trying to get rid of that gunner. does achieve it and keeps the orb intact. So a good opening salvo. And just like that, though, there goes the orb, and now things could get ugly. Just have to wait and see what Akerasi gets for her first drop, as Grunty's working on that second gunner. Can't quite get rid of it yet. Akerasi's drop is a foot in a terrible position.
Oh, man.
Go for it. What a maniac. Unfortunately loses the orb, though, in the process.
And gets sniped by the wall gunners.
Neither
and it's going to also just point blank range him.
I mean, you may as well make sure you get it. Oh, Grunty runs into that mine in the northern part of the room, but does get rockets as a consolation drop. And that commentator said it best. These drops are indeed that rhyming word you just put out there. They are not great, although both are getting some rockets now, finally.
I agree. It's the pits.
Oh my goodness. I thought I was going to have to correct you, but you're a broadcast professional. You know better.
Absolutely.
End of the room here. Gruntiatus finishing off the last shrapnel. We'll be out with about a 5:05. Akerasi pounding away with grenades here. Trying to get there. Gets another orb drop. And, oh wow! Grabs it, kills the shrapnel, and keeps the orb alive. That was a heck of a grab. Couple weapons here to start for Gruntiatus. That lobber, not bad. It looks like it's about still a 20-second lead, though, as we head into Mutoid match. Still anybody's match.
As we've seen, the drops can be rather cruel in some cases, or not. Grunt not able to do much with the spreader just based on the positioning, and oh.
Akerasi trying to split the bullets there. Got split by the bullets. Dies, but does get a lobber refill instead of that rocket. By the way, for anyone who is interested in having a little audience participation in this tournament, anytime you see something you think might be worthy of a top 10 moment, good or bad, you can clip it and pass it along, and we'll keep it stored for a top 10 video at the end of the tournament. So be sure to clip anything of interest. Who knows? Maybe your clip will make it in.
Wait, there's a top 10 bad as well?
Well, there might be a few bad moments. There's top 10 good with a few bad. You remember last year?
Well, I don't want to sweep the category.
So, Gruntiatus already down to the second last form here. Second arm pops for Akerasi. Final form now for Gruntiatus. Akerasi gets sniped. Can Akerasi get to that spreader? It's going to be a tight grab. No.
Just missed it.
Mutoid did just enough to block it. Here's Gruntiatus looking for that low 7 here. Grabs the invulnerability. Pounding shots home. Almost out of ammo here. Not enough with the spreader, but that rocket should be enough.
And it is.
So, game number 1 is going to go to Gruntiatus. A 1-0 lead here in this 16 versus 17 matchup. Akerasi just couldn't get it in gear early and just never made up much ground along the way, unfortunately. Pop in the head, though. Trying to land those shots. Lobber shots going a little wild there. Not able to really land it as it was a horizontal movement there from Mutoid Man.
What a trolley place for the spreader.
Well, that's a better one. This should probably set him up to finish it here in a low 8. Well, the movement wasn't great, but he gets a ton of damage on the transfer. This final form's not going to last very long.
Very nice transfer damage.
That is the greatest thing to get. As you can see, instead of it taking 2 or maybe 3 weapons, it took part of a grenade and part of a spreader when the form change was done. That spreader changeover just means so much. And it's going to be an 8:05 for Akerasi, 1-0. Gruntiatus. We'll get him set up here, Burgundy. Is Akerasi going to strike back in this match, or is Gruntiatus going to go up 2-0?
Well, it's certainly hard to say. I mean, I don't know how much practice Akerasi has put into the proverbial off season here. I know Grunt is at least a newer runner to my knowledge, so it's definitely a wild card.
Well, absolutely. Akerasi is a great gamer. Does have a job that requires a lot of hours, intensive work. Might not have put in as much work as our new runner as Grunty has, but guile and, you know, wily experience can get you pretty far. We'll have to wait and see what happens here in race number 2 of our second match of the evening. What do we got on tap coming up after this matchup, Faran?
Well, coming up after this is a match that, even though I'm not going to be in the booth for it, I'm definitely going to want to pay attention to. Lucha Jim against E.T. Goham, as the loser of those two will more than likely be facing me.
Personal stakes. That's why I had to get you out of the booth. We didn't want you over cheering too much.
Well, you know, it's kind of a matter of, all right, who's going to knock me out of the tournament? That's kind of more what I'm keeping my eye on. Then we have Volrath taking on Stormcrow. We have Zexy against Aquas. And closing things out, we have Retrophile TV against Telio 1.
So indeed, a lot of action coming your way tonight. Quite a few members of that Sub-6 club, but you got to keep in mind the Sub-6 club has been growing by leaps and bounds. The newest member being Oopla, who got in earlier today during a practice session, getting a 5:59.
Something you certainly like to see. And we're setting up here, looking for Akerasi to reset the timer. There that is. And Bry's going to give the countdown. We have the key over on Grunt's side. This is a best of 5. Akerasi looking to tie it up. Grunt looking to take a 2-0 lead.
So unless there's an adjustment made by our restreamer, just keep in mind there will be a 2-second difference on the clock. If there's a close finish, we'll have to pay attention to that. We're underway. Race number 2. Both getting their Razor Shield, both setting up here and pounding away at the enemies. You only really need this Razor Shield, and that's about it. You kind of don't want any other power-ups near the middle. They can help you a little or hurt you a lot. Like that, a nuke on your feet for Gruntiatus. That slows the spawn down and costs you time. Still, though, a solid opener there for Gruntiatus. It should be around a 43. Meanwhile, Akerasi gets a 43, a little higher, so a slight lead for Gruntiatus in to collect power-ups. Spreader to open for Grunty. Akerasi, meanwhile, has to wait and gets rockets, a slightly better drop, that is for sure.
Yeah, the advantage of those rockets making mincemeat of those shrapnel, as usually it takes probably about 6 or 7 shots of the pea shooter to take out, maybe more.
It does indeed, and we get a Razor Shield for Gruntiatus, but an orb for Akerasi, so the advantage is Akerasi. Just has to hold down the middle here, not get too adventurous, and probably should lead out of this room. But no, it's actually going to be Gruntiatus with a 131 versus Akerasi's about a 135 probably. So a 4-second lead, and an orb here for Grunty to open up and eat my shrapnel. A great gift. Akerasi being chased, gets away from that swirl.
Wow, that swirl meant business.
My goodness, rockets here for Akerasi. That'll help clean up the shrapnels, get back in the middle. A Razor Shield for Gruntiatus. This just makes the room incredibly safe. And is now just going to be getting ready to leave the room and hopefully maintain that lead. Now he gets rockets. Made them last there as long as possible to maybe save a couple shots. Pretty smart. 214 exit versus a 219. Akerasi wasn't quite ready to leave the room. Orb loss, though, for Grunty. Here's the opening for Akerasi.
Felt the heat, used the nuke.
But just as I say that, a Razor Shield leads into an orb replacement for Gruntiatus.
Oh,
so now it's going to be down to weapons and who holds the middle most efficiently. And with that Razor Shield, Grunty's feeling pretty safe right now. And as you can see, Akerasi doing a good job here, Faran, just making use of what little it can, but Grunty definitely just having less stressful movement here, as in not moving at all. Just literally standing there and delivering.
Yeah, Akerasi trying to do a lot with a little. How did he not lose the orb there? Now gets a late razor shield.
Oh,
Runs
absolutely.
stone cold into the bonus room.
What he made use of there, Ferran, was good diagonal fire. When the enemy started getting wide on him, he would move a little bit and diagonal fire, and he did a good job here to maintain some connection, but that lead definitely grew for Gruntiatus with that early Razor Shield Orb combo. 340 into tank trouble. We'll have to wait and see what Akerasi gets coming in. Vulnerability to start here in tank trouble for Grunty. Drops the orb trying to get to the gunners. And then gets clubbed with a spreader in hand. And that lead, by the way, is about 17 seconds, but this start has been disastrous for Grunty. Oh, grenades on the feet.
Oh,
that is
no.
sabotage. Losing all your range, and it's going to be tough. But a good job by Akerasi to escape the middle, but gets shrapnelled. Now it's going to come down to just who gets the better weapons. Can Akerasi make up some time? These drops for Grunty have been flaming garbage, is the polite way to put it, as Akerasi runs into a mine. And Grunty dies going for a spreader. This has been a disastrous tank trouble for both sides. Akerasi gets clubbed down going for rockets.
And you can imagine the desperation starting to set in a little bit.
But man, Grunty just can't buy a drop right now. Akerasi getting drops, but just struggling to stay alive at the moment, and gets tanked from the bottom door. The lead will stay with Gruntiatus, but struggling to finish the room there. It's a 5:04. Akerasi now, the drops have dried up, but will have probably gained some time. Just to kill that shrapnel. And yes, it is only going to be about a 10-second lead. Made up about half the gap there for Ron.
Yeah, all it takes is a couple of drops and some things in the right position here. Grunt now trying to work on the gunners, gets a spreader, tries to do some nice manual damage.
Excellent manual from Gruntiatus. Probably got about a form worth of damage in there. That's how quick it goes. Early pickup of the spreader. Does Akerasi not see that swirl ominously coming for him? Oh, and then a vulnerability drop when he had the spreader.
Oh, you hate to see it.
And here's a spreader drop for Grunt. He takes the death. It's going to be close. Gets the weapon. And Mutoid moves up, saving some time. Probably going to be a 2-form change here. Backs off to avoid the mine death, potentially. Grunty dies. We have a spreader here for Akerasi. Will Akerasi attempt the manual? Yes, and landing some shots here for Ron. Pops the second. Even more! That was fantastic, but we have an manual from Grunty. Neither one's been able to get a spreader in a great location yet. The closest was Grunty getting a decent one for Ron. Chest pop now on Akerasi, but about 4 3/4 behind. Final form for Gruntiatus. A manual attempt from Akerasi. Lands a few, but gets run over.
Yeah, this might be too little too late here for Akerasi in this particular race. The head pops.
Grunty wisely ignores the spreader and will finish off Mutoid Man. Gets rid of the shrapnels and will exit the room with a low 7. Final form for Akerasi. A better run overall for Akerasi, but now down 2-0 in this race. The newcomer showing what he's got. Akerasi will definitely have a better time this time. Grabs a refill that lobber. This should be enough if he avoids getting run over here. And indeed, that's it. A much better run, but not good enough. Gruntiatus 2-0.
Grunt just one victory away from our first upset here in the tournament. And Akerasi going to have to do the reverse sweep to keep things chalk.
Gonna do the old, to avoid the reverse sombrero, gotta do the Canadian sweep, as some people like to call it for some reason. And we will get them ready to go here for race number 3 in this matchup. Can Akerasi force a fourth, or will it be done 3-0 and we'll be handing the commentary over to a new team? We'll have to wait and see. I think Akerasi's going to get a win here. So remember, there are 4 more matches coming up after this one here. We have, not 100% what the next one is coming up, but we have several of our top seeds playing tonight. It should be pretty entertaining. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have got, who is tomorrow? Scotty and Oopla, I believe, which should be a heck of a
Scotty and
matchup.
Oopla, Scotty the 13 seed and Oopla the 20 seed.
But keep in mind, Oopla's PB is lower now than Scotty's, so that could be a heck of a matchup. You don't want to miss that one. A 3 p.m. start here on GG Speedruns. So yeah, the work has been put in. It's a solid PB lead for that matchup, but that doesn't matter right now for Ron. The countdown's been given. They should be underway momentarily. Race number 3, 2-0, Gruntiatus in this matchup. See if Akerasi can keep things going, or will it be the sweep again? Last year's tournament started with a lot of 3-0 sweep matches. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that ends right here, right now. Both getting that razor shield set up. Both avoiding that trap drops of a grenade and a nuke. The nuke's not a bad third drop if you can finish the room with it, but grenades here are just awful. Bit of a troll drop on Grunty, though. Akerasi gets the nuke. Will he make use? Looks like he's just going to focus up on the enemies. Probably the wise choice here. And not a great opener here for Akerasi at all. Grunty getting a high 43, and it'll be a low 46, a little over 2 seconds lead here for Grunty in to collect power-ups. So, with that, they get their drops. It's an orb start for Gruntiatus.
Oh my goodness.
That is fantastic for him. And then a spreader, which will help clean the room up. And meanwhile, Akerasi not getting much of anything. This lead is going to be growing by the second here with each bad drop Akerasi gets, and the longer that orb stays healthy. Another spreader for Grunty trying to finish the room off here at Burgundy. Finally, something for Akerasi. That is a decent opener for Gruntiatus, given how slow the Arena 1 room was. And now just trying to set up here and get rid of the swirl. Good job of that. Nice and safe, and should be good to go in this room, as Akerasi has a horrendous start here. A 144. Not what you want to see at all. We finally see an orbit for Akerasi. Waits just half a second and gets the shrapnel out of the way. That was pretty smart. Just shot it enough to move it.
Yep, a savvy veteran maneuver there.
Gruntiatus, meanwhile, another Razor Shield Orb combo, just controlling things. That combination is so great. When you get it, you just have to take advantage. And that's a 2-14 for Gruntiatus into total carnage. And has rocket potential here as the Razor Shield lines up for Akerasi. Gets that rocket, nice grab, but loses the orb. It's a 17-second lead, but the good news for Akerasi, that orb is still intact. It just needs to keep it going and will slowly gain time with every firing line he takes. But an orb replacement here for Gruntiatus. And a Razor Shield. This combination's been paying off huge for On. Unbelievable stuff.
This is absolutely wild.
You just don't see that combination like this. And hey, how about another one? Because we haven't seen enough of them in this matchup yet. Razor Shield Orb combo. And then rockets for Akerasi.
Well, the game giving up the goods, but might it be too little too late?
Oh, you know with Mutoid, it's never too little too late.
Yeah, no, it's never too late. This is true.
And tank trouble can be trouble for one or both of the runners in most races. It often decides who gets in there more than any other room. And it is going to be a slight growth in the lead, about 23 seconds now, I believe. So, there's a nuke available, but Grunty trying to swing that orb gets taken out. Disappointing there for On.
Oh, and gets shrapnelled on top of it.
Let's see if Akerasi can make better use of the orb at the start of the room here. Grenades for Grunty. Rocket start for Akerasi. He needed some kind of break like that. And gets a
nukes!
Cleans the room up with a nuke on his feet. You love to see it as Gruntiatus gets killed again. Huge opportunity here for Akerasi. Spreader in the middle.
Wow.
These drops are lining up. Then rockets.
And rockets too.
We do have a razor shield though. And
more rockets for Akerasi.
These drops are lining up for Akerasi, just saying, please, collect me. And he's been more than willing to get it done. Finally, the drops dry up a little, but still holding it down. This lead is definitely shrunk here. More rockets.
Oh, there goes the orb, but
doesn't matter. The room's over. And as you can see, oh my goodness, Akerasi has the lead. What a swing.
458 into Mutoid Man. It swung to about a 9-second lead in Akerasi's favor. Rockets at the feet to start.
That was like a 30-second swing in that one room. Tank trouble. Unbelievable. Great grab here from Akerasi getting that spreader. It's anyone's match right now. Lobbers getting thrown in by Akerasi. Another key. That's his second key of the room. He has a spreader opportunity. Can he get it? He grabs it for On. Can he manual
it?
Pretty good manual here.
Couple of shots in.
And he might get this lobber to boot. That's beautiful. Unbelievable stuff there. Akerasi pounding shots home. Lobbers, and more lobbers. Grunty now going with the spreader. Trying to manual. Gets a spreader behind him. Picks it up. Maybe could have died for that one. Look at this. A double arm blowout. Oh, wow. What a match going on here, guys. I think that's a foot that Mutoid's sitting on versus Akerasi. Here comes a spreader chance for Gruntiatus.
Oh, and he gets it.
Pops the chest. Pops the head.
Pops the head, and we're even.
We're tied. Akerasi does have the weapon advantage here. Trying to get the form change. He does get to the final form. Oh my goodness, a spreader in a perfect spot. Will Grunty steal this? Will Grunty
empty drop for Akerasi.
Oh, Grunty dies. Can he get to the weapon? Who's going to blow him up first here, guys? It's a close one. And it's going to be Gruntiatus.
Takes it.
That spreader gift on the feet got him back in the match. Unbelievable finish, guys. Craziness. This is Super Smash TV at its finest.
RNG giveth, RNG taketh away, as it looks like it was about a 7:06. So going from about a 9-second lead into that room to about a 7-second deficit.
Akerasi split a bit late and says that should be a mild PB, so a PB for Akerasi. But unfortunately, will lose the match 3-0. So, once we go to the cutout screen here, Ferran and I will be leaving the commentary booth. Coming in will be lead commentator, LOZ Cards Fan 23, and 40-watt range, the number 3 seed in the tournament. He's won a tournament. He finished second last year. Knows his stuff. Get ready for some good times. Crazy action there. And we're just getting started. That's only 2 matches out of 6 tonight. Don't go anywhere, Ferran.